In the early 2000s, a company called Zappos was struggling to stand out in the competitive world of online retail. They sold shoes, but that wasn't enough. The founder, Hsieh, realized something. Success wasn't just about selling an outstanding product. It was about creating a culture that stands out. So, he made a bold move. He focused on building a unique organizational culture, one where employees were encouraged to be themselves, to be even weird, and to treat customers like royalty. If you worked at Zappos, you weren't just selling shoes, you sold the company's values. The culture was so strong that new hires were offered $2,000 to quit after training if they didn't fit in. And it worked. By 2009, Amazon bought Zappos for $1.2 billion. That's the power of organizational culture. It's not something you can touch, but it's something both employees and customers respond to, shaping every interaction, shaping every decision. That's why, today, we're going to explore organizations from a cultural perspective. Just like Zappos, every organization has its own symbolic life, a culture that influences the way people think, behave, and communicate. First things first, what do we mean by culture in the context of organizations? Organizational culture is defined as the actions, ways of thinking, practices, stories, heroes, and artifacts that characterize a particular organization. It's the unwritten rules, the inside jokes, the rituals that make one workplace feel different from another. Think about Zappos. The freewheeling, customer-obsessed culture wasn't just a management strategy. It was a symbolic construction that helped employees feel part of something bigger than themselves. In the world of organizational communication, culture isn't just a background factor, it's the center. Organizational culture isn't only found in the formal policies or org charts. Instead, we study the symbolic life of an organization, the language people use, the stories they tell about their heroes, and the practices they follow, both formally and informally. When we study culture in organizations, we usually look at it through one of three perspectives: the practical view, the interpretive view, or the critical view. In the practical view, culture is seen as a tool that management can use to improve the organization. It's something that can be engineered or shaped. For example, Hsieh deliberately built the culture at Zappos to reflect certain values, like fun, a little weirdness, and great customer service. The practical view assumes that a strong culture will lead to strong performance. Research studies like In Search of Excellence by Peters and Waterman focus on this idea. They studied companies with strong cultures and found that the most financially successful companies shared these common cultural traits. They have a bias for action or moving forward, they have strong relationships with their customers, and their productivity was driven by their employees and not by new machines or technology. However, some critics note that there's a flaw in this practical view approach. You can't always design an organizational culture like you can design a new product. People don't always follow the script. The interpretive view of culture takes a different angle. Here, culture isn't something you manage. It's something that emerges naturally from the interactions between people. You can't control it, you can only try to understand it. Think about the ethnographic studies used in this approach, where researchers immerse themselves in an organization to observe its culture firsthand. This view emphasizes that culture is dynamic and shaped by everyday practices. At Zappos, for example, the culture wasn't just top-down, it evolved from how employees interacted with each other and with customers. Researchers might study the stories Zappos employees tell about graced customer service wins and the other informal ways people express the company values in their day-to-day work. Ethnography is useful here because it reveals how seemingly small interactions in an organization can lead to big results when employees feel like they have a common purpose. Finally, we have the critical view. This perspective is more skeptical. It argues that culture can be a tool for control, used by management to shape employees' behaviors, sometimes in ways that aren't in their best interest. It's a way of managing power and creating hierarchies. In this view, we're not just studying the fun parts of culture, but also how it can limit people. For example, at Zappos, while the quirky culture worked for many, some critics argue that the intense focus on being weird in order to fit in could be exclusionary. Not everyone wants to embrace weirdness in the workplace, and those who don't may feel marginalized. From the critical perspective, we might ask, who benefits from this culture, and who might be left out? Now, regardless of which view we take, practical, interpretive, or critical, there are 5 main characteristics that all theories of organizational culture share. The first is that culture is collective. It's shared by a group of people. You don't have an individual culture, you have a group culture that everyone contributes to. Second, culture is symbolic. It relies on symbols, language, rituals, stories, heroes, enemies that all represent deeper meanings. Zappos' offer to pay people $2,000 to quit was a powerful symbol of their culture. The third characteristic is that culture is historical. It evolves over time. The stories of how an organization was founded, evolved, and adapted, or key moments in its history, those shape its present-day culture. Fourth, culture is dynamic. This means it's always changing. New employees, new challenges, and new markets constantly reshape the culture. Zappos' culture didn't stay static after Amazon bought them in 2009. It had to adapt. And lastly, culture is emotionally charged. Culture isn't just rational or logical, it affects how people feel, how they connect with each other, and how they experience their work. Another important concept in the study of organizational culture is socialization. This is the process by which new members of an organization learn its culture. It's like when you start a new job and you slowly pick up on how things are done, what the boss expects, what the unspoken rules are, and how to fit in. At Zappos, this was formalized. New hires were immersed in the company's culture from day one. That's why they offered the $2,000 to quit. It was a way of weeding out people who didn't truly buy into the company's values. In today's global economy, understanding organizational culture is more important than ever. As businesses expand across borders, they have to navigate different cultural norms and values. Zappos, now a global company under Amazon, had to learn how to maintain its unique culture while adapting to the expectations of customers and employees in different countries. At Zappos, Tony Hsieh built an organization that wasn't just about selling shoes. It was about creating a culture where employees felt empowered, where customer service wasn't merely a policy, but a passion. The culture made Zappos successful, but it wasn't just engineered from the top down. It grew out of the interactions between employees, customers, and the symbolic practices that defined the company. In the end, every organization has a culture, whether they realize it or not. Some, like Zappos, use it to their advantage. Others may let it control them in ways they don't expect. But make no mistake, understanding culture is key to understanding how organizations create workplaces where not only the organization's goals are met, but employees feel part of something bigger. Zappos. Zappos. Zappos! These are my Zappos. Zappos! 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 Okay.